The loop that never stops, understanding hyperarousal and sleep. It always starts the same way. You finally crawl into bed, hoping tonight will be different. You're exhausted, your eyes sting from the day, but the moment your head hits the pillow, your brain lights up like Times Square. Thoughts you didn't ask for begin flooding in. Did I answer that email? What if tomorrow goes wrong? Why did she say that? What's wrong with me? It's like someone turned on a projector in your head and you can't find the off switch. Your body is begging for sleep, but your mind is racing laps in the dark. And the worst part? You know you're tired. You want to sleep. You're doing nothing but lying there. So why can't you drift off? What you're experiencing isn't just anxiety. It's not just too many thoughts. It's something deeper, a state called hyperarousal. And understanding this one word might just change the way you think about sleep forever. Hyperarousal is what happens when your nervous system gets stuck in on. It's a state of biological overactivation, when the body and brain interpret the world as threatening, even when there's no real danger. It's not about being stressed in a big moment, it's about being unable to come down afterward. It's the body locked in a subtle but constant state of vigilance, and while you may not notice it during the day, thanks to distractions, caffeine, and tasks, at night, when the world finally goes quiet, it roars. This is why so many people say they don't feel stressed, but still can't sleep, because hyperarousal doesn't always feel like panic. Sometimes, it feels like tension in your shoulders you didn't notice, a clench in your jaw, a subtle hum of what if in the background of your thoughts. It's physiological, not just mental. Here's how it works. Your brain has a structure called the amygdala, which acts like a threat detector. When it senses potential danger, real or imagined, it sends signals to activate your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Your heart rate goes up, cortisol is released, muscles tense, attention sharpens. This is brilliant if you're running from a bear. Not so helpful when you're trying to sleep. The problem is, for many people, the amygdala is hypersensitive, maybe from past trauma, maybe from chronic stress, maybe from being raised in unpredictable environments. So even when you lie in bed, the brain stays alert, hypervigilant, and instead of shifting into rest and digest, your body stays in defend and survive. You lie still, but internally, you're wired, and it gets worse. Because the longer you lie awake worrying about not sleeping, the more aroused your nervous system becomes. You start stressing about the fact that you're stressed. Now you're in a feedback loop, what researchers call the hyperarousal loop. Your brain says, we're awake. That must mean something's wrong. Your body agrees. More cortisol is released. Sleep drifts further away, and this cycle can repeat night after night. This is why sleep hygiene tips alone don't always work. You can turn off the lights, avoid caffeine, wear the blue light glasses, but if your nervous system is still stuck in on, none of it matters. You're trying to sleep in a body that thinks it's under attack. But here's the good news. Hyperarousal is not permanent. It's not your fault, and it's not unfixable. Your nervous system is neuroplastic, which means it can relearn safety. It can unwind from this loop. But to do that, we don't just need more discipline. We need more regulation, body-based tools that signal to the nervous system, it's okay now, you're safe. In the rest of this episode, we're going to break down how to interrupt this hyperarousal loop. We'll talk about the difference between mental stillness and somatic stillness, why your brain won't shut up at night, and most importantly, how to retrain your body to shift into the parasympathetic state that sleep requires. Because sleep isn't just something that happens in your brain. It's something your whole body must feel its way into. And sometimes, the way back to sleep isn't through controlling your thoughts, but through calming your body. Overthinking is not the problem, the biology behind racing thoughts. Overthinking isn't just a bad habit. It's not about being weak-willed or having poor discipline. It's biology. When you lie awake at night with your mind spinning, replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, scanning your to-do list for mistakes, what you're experiencing is the brain trying to stay in control. It's the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, reasoning, and analyzing, going into overdrive. And here's the kicker: it thinks it's helping. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty. It equates uncertainty with danger. So when things feel unresolved, emotionally, socially, financially, the mind tries to work it out to protect you. But in the absence of real-time threats, it creates imagined ones. It replays the past, it forecasts disasters, and the quieter the world becomes, as it does at night, the louder these internal simulations get. This isn't random. It's driven by the same system that regulates your stress response, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis. When activated by real or perceived stress, the HPA axis signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones prime you for action, not rest. They also increase alertness, sharpen memory recall, and heighten the brain's default mode network, a neural system associated with rumination and self-referential thought. In short, your brain becomes a high-powered problem-solving machine at exactly the time you want it to shut down. The problem is, this machine doesn't know when to stop, especially if you've spent years or decades coping with stress by thinking your way through it. Overthinkers are often people who learned early on that being prepared kept them safe, that staying one step ahead reduced conflict, that controlling everything in their mind gave them the illusion of security. So, when nighttime comes and the body finally slows down, the brain panics. We're vulnerable, it says. Better run some simulations. But the irony is, this very strategy, the one that once protected you, is now keeping you from sleep. Because the brain doesn't distinguish between imagining danger and experiencing it. Studies using fMRI scans show that the same regions light up when we think about a stressful event as when we live it. So every time you rehearse an argument or mentally prepare for disaster at 2 a.m., your nervous system reacts as if it's happening now. And once that system is activated, sleep becomes biologically incompatible. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. You can't think your way into sleep. You can only feel your way into it. Sleep is a parasympathetic function. It requires the body to be in a state of surrender, of non-threat. And the more you try to force sleep by thinking, by analyzing, solving, replaying, the further you push it away. This is why mantras like, just relax, or try not to think, don't work. They're still cognitive commands, and they often lead to more frustration, because trying not to think is still a form of thinking. The real solution lies in a different part of the brain, the one that doesn't use language. The brainstem and limbic system, the more primitive regions of the nervous system, respond not to logic but to sensation. This is why somatic practices, breath work, touch, rhythm, temperature shifts, can interrupt the hyperarousal loop in a way that thoughts cannot. They send the message, you are safe, not through words, but through feeling. So when your brain is racing at night, the goal isn't to fight it. The goal is to shift your state, to engage the senses, to move attention out of the thought loop and into the body, to whisper to your nervous system through action, we're okay. It's time to rest now. And that's what we'll explore in the next part of this episode. How to use body-based techniques to interrupt the hyperarousal pattern without trying to force or suppress your thoughts. Because your thoughts aren't the problem. They're just messengers. But you don't have to let them drive the whole night. Somatic interventions, calming the brain through the body. You can't tell your body to relax. You have to show it. And that's exactly what somatic interventions do. They teach the nervous system what safety feels like. When you're caught in the hyperarousal loop, your thoughts are moving fast because your body believes it's still in danger. But here's the key. The body is also the doorway out. If you can shift the body's state, the mind will follow, not the other way around. Let's begin with one of the simplest, most powerful tools, the exhale. Most people don't realize that the length of your exhale directly communicates with your vagus nerve, the core of your parasympathetic nervous system. When you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, you signal to your body that the danger has passed. Try this tonight. Breathe in slowly for a count of 4 and exhale gently for a count of 8. Do this for 2 minutes. That's it. No apps, no perfect technique, just a longer exhale. You may notice your shoulders drop, your heart rate slows, your thoughts begin to unhook from your grip. Another underrated but profound tool is deep pressure. Weighted blankets are popular for a reason. They mimic a type of nervous system input called proprioception, which helps the body feel where it is in space. This grounding effect reduces the fight or flight response. If you don't have a weighted blanket, try lying on the floor with a thick blanket folded over you, or hug a dense pillow against your chest. The pressure helps remind your nervous system, you're here and you're okay. Touch is another powerful access point. Not necessarily from someone else. Your own touch can be enough. Place one hand on your heart, one on your belly, or gently rub your arms, your thighs, your shoulders. These small gestures reintroduce presence and can activate oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding and calm. It might feel silly at first, especially if you've learned to disconnect from your body, but stick with it. You're not doing it for performance. You're doing it to remind your body what safety feels like, physically. Movement, too, can break the loop. When thoughts race and the body is frozen, try pendulation, gentle rocking side to side. Sit up in bed and slowly sway. Or try what's called orienting. Turn your head slowly left and right, pausing to look around the room. This mimics the behavior of animals after a threat has passed, scanning the environment to confirm it's safe. These movements sound subtle, but they're neurologically significant. They cue the amygdala to downregulate its threat response. And then there's sound. Humming, sighing, even low-volume singing stimulates the vagus nerve through the vocal cords. Try humming your favorite melody under your breath. It vibrates the chest and throat, which your body interprets as safety. This is why lullabies work, not just for babies, but for grown-ups too. Temperature can also reset the nervous system. Some people find a warm bath before bed helps them drop into parasympathetic mode. Others benefit from cold exposure, like splashing cold water on the face or placing an ice pack near the neck for a moment. This engages the dive reflex, a survival mechanism that calms the heart rate and shifts the body into conservation mode. It's like pressing a manual override on your internal alarm system. These are not tricks, they're translations. They help take the abstract idea of "I want to calm down" and make it physical. They bypass the thinking brain and speak directly to the feeling brain. And the more you practice them, not just during the panic, but even on calm nights, the more fluent your nervous system becomes in the language of safety. You're not weak for needing these tools. You're wise for using them. They don't erase the reasons behind your stress, but they help your body realize that right now, in this moment, the war is over. You don't have to fight to fall asleep. In the next part, we'll explore how to create a bedtime ritual that doesn't just prepare your body for sleep. It tells your nervous system, we're entering sacred ground. It's time to let go. Rituals that rewire, creating a somatic bedtime practice. Rituals are different from routines. A routine is a task list. A ritual is a signal. And when it comes to sleep, the body responds far better to signals than to orders. You can't demand rest, but you can create a world around you that invites it. That's the essence of a somatic bedtime ritual. Not to force the body to shut down, but to slowly remind it that it's safe enough to do so. The most powerful rituals don't begin in the mind. They begin in sensation. Think of what your dog or cat does before lying down. They circle, they stretch, they sigh. It's instinctive, it's body-led. That's what your bedtime ritual should feel like. A return to instinct. A cue to the nervous system that says, we're shifting now. It's time to let go. Start by choosing a consistent window of time, not a strict hour, but a rhythm. Maybe it's 30 minutes before you plan to sleep. Maybe it's an hour. What matters is not precision, but presence. During this window, you're not just getting ready for bed. You're creating conditions that allow the body to soften. Begin with dimming the lights. Light directly affects melatonin production, especially blue light from screens. But beyond the biology, light communicates time. Lower light says, night is here. It's not just helpful for hormones, it tells your inner animal you're off duty. If you can, avoid overhead lights. Use lamps, candles, salt lamps, anything that creates a sense of warmth and containment. Next, consider sound. What are you listening to as you transition towards sleep? Is it fast, loud, full of information? Or is it slow, spacious, calming? Many people find it helpful to listen to low-frequency tones, white or pink noise, or soft ambient music. Some prefer guided meditations or slow storytelling. But the key isn't to distract yourself. It's to allow your nervous system to tune to a slower frequency. Music and sound are like tuning forks. Your body will match the tone. Incorporate touch-based rituals. That could mean gently massaging lotion into your feet, brushing your hair slowly, pressing a warm compress on your belly or neck. These aren't just acts of hygiene, they're acts of sensory grounding. The body learns what to expect from repetition. If every night it receives the same gentle signals, warmth, pressure, rhythm, it begins to associate those inputs with safety and eventually with sleep. You can also explore movement rituals, not workouts but somatic sequences. Try a few gentle yoga poses like legs up the wall or child's pose, or lie flat and tense each muscle group for 5 seconds, then release. This practice, called progressive muscle relaxation, helps discharge residual tension from the day. It's not about performance, it's about permission. And don't forget breath. You don't need to do anything fancy. Try box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Or simply extend your exhales, but do it with awareness. Place one hand on your chest, the other on your belly. Let the breath move your body. Let it rock you like a tide. The most important part? Consistency without pressure. You're not trying to get it right. You're creating a neural association, a bridge from wakefulness to rest. The body learns through patterns. And the more you pair certain sensations, dim light, soft sound, gentle touch, with sleep, the more those inputs become sleep triggers themselves. And here's something no one tells you. You don't need to believe it will work for it to help. The nervous system isn't waiting for your permission. It's responding to your environment. So even on nights when you're skeptical, when your thoughts are loud, when your stress is high, show up anyway. Light the candle, put on the music, place your hand on your heart. You're not trying to fake calm. You're practicing the conditions that allow it to arrive. In the next part, we'll talk about what to do when the ritual doesn't work, when you've done everything right, and you're still wide awake. Because the path to sleep isn't linear. But that doesn't mean you're stuck. What if I still can't sleep? Navigating sleepless nights without panic or judgment. Some nights, even the best rituals and somatic tools won't be enough. You've dimmed the lights, breathed slow, hugged your weighted blanket, yet your mind and body remain awake, locked in that familiar dance of tension and thought. In those moments, panic can be the loudest response. If I don't sleep now, tomorrow will be ruined. I'm broken. Why can't I just relax? But here's the radical truth. You can sit with sleeplessness without making it worse. You can navigate these nights with kindness instead of self-judgment. First, notice your inner story. When you sense panic rise, heart pounding, thoughts spiraling, pause and label it. There's panic. Simple naming cuts through identification. It shifts you from being the emotion to being the observer. You're not your anxiety, you're the one noticing it. Next, befriend the discomfort rather than fight it. Imagine your sleepless tension as a guest, uninvited perhaps but real. Offer it a seat. I see you, you're here, and that's okay. Paradoxically, when you stop resisting, the nervous system often softens on its own. If the pull of overthinking reemerges, try a micro practice of curiosity. Redirect 30 seconds of mental energy to noticing your breath, your heartbeat, or the texture of your sheets. Not to fix anything, but simply to sense. That tiny shift from problem solving to present moment sensing lets your parasympathetic system catch up. You can also change position. If you've lain still for 20 minutes without sleep, get up, walk slowly to another room, leaving the bed behind. Stand or sit in low light, perhaps near a window or by a lamp. Do a soft somatic practice, shaking, humming, stretching, and then return to bed. Sometimes the movement breaks the feedback loop of I must sleep, allowing sleep to arrive when you least expect it. And remember, self-talk shapes your state. The inner critic's voice might say, you're failing at sleep. Replace it with a kinder companion. Tonight is hard, and I'm doing my best. Words carry weight. A soft phrase can be as regulating as a breath technique. Finally, embrace the idea that being awake can be replenishing in its own way. Journaling your thoughts, practicing gentle stretching, or simply gazing out the window at the night sky, these quiet acts can settle the mind and restore calm, even without sleep. You're still caring for your nervous system, still doing the work. Sleep is the goal, but rest looks different when sleep is elusive. Remember, one difficult night doesn't define your capacity for rest. It's part of the ebb and flow of healing. By meeting sleeplessness with compassion and curiosity, rather than panic, you weaken the hyperarousal loop and open the door wider for sleep to return, often in its own time. In the next and final part, we'll gather all these threads together and close with a hopeful call to action that reminds you, sleep is possible. Even when it feels out of reach, and you have everything you need, in body, mind, and heart, to find your way back to rest. If you've made it this far, take a moment to honor yourself, just for showing up, for listening, for daring to lean into this conversation with your body and mind. Overthinking at night isn't a personal failure. It's a sign of a nervous system that has worked overtime. And every practice you've tried tonight, from the extended exhales, to the gentle hum, to the ritual of dimming lights, was an act of compassion toward that system. As you prepare to let go of this episode, remember, sleep is a skill that can be relearned. Every body-oriented tool you've practiced tonight is wiring new neural pathways toward rest. Rest is not laziness. It's an essential part of your body's rhythm. Choosing to pause, even when sleep feels impossible, sends a signal of safety. Compassion outperforms control. When the mind races, greet it with kindness. I see you're alert. Thank you for keeping me safe. Now we're shifting to rest. If this resonated, please subscribe to the Sleep series so you don't miss our next deep dive, where we'll explore how digital overstimulation rewires your brain and practical steps to reclaim calm from screens. Hit like if you found any tip helpful and share this with someone who's been lying awake chasing stillness. Drop a comment below. Which somatic tool will you try first? Thank you for trusting this space. Here's to rewiring your nights, one breath, one body-led moment at a time. Good night, and be well.